Okay, so again, we will try to continue with this lesson, area of bounded region, and then later on we'll have to start with area, volume of a solid of revolution. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so again, what we did in finding for the area of bounded region, we identified your element of area, either your horizontal, so we will be using this. And then for vertical, we will be using this as our area. So we identified bounded region, and then we identified also the suitable element of the area. In other words, we identified either we will be using a horizontal or a vertical element of the area. We had a few examples on this. Unless you have questions with this before we can proceed with the next topic. May tanong pa po ba? So let us now proceed with the next one. Okay, so volume of a solid of revolution. So basically, guys, finding the volume of the solid of revolution using integrals is just basically identifying again a bounded region, and then we will revolve or we will rotate it around a certain axis. Okay, so imagine you have an area, and then we try to rotate it around a certain axis. We can create actually sort of a volume or a revolution kasi we just revolve or rotate that area. So parang nakakreate lang tayo ng solid. So imagine niyo if you have a semicircle, if you try to rotate a semicircle, it's just the solid that you will produce there is what? Sige nga. You have a semicircle. Ano yung, if you revolve it around its diameter, what is the solid that you will be producing? Anyone? Hello? Wala naman akong kausap. Hello po. Naintindihan po ba yung sinabi ko about sa solid of revolution? Sige, isa-isahin natin. Kunwari, everyone, will you please get a ball pen? Sige nga. May ball pen ba kayo dyan? May ball pen kayo dyan, guys? Hello? O may ball pen. O kahit anong rod or kahit anong kahit, kahit, kahit ano, ball pen, lapis, ganyan, ganyan. And then, imagine niyo yun yung ating axis na tinatawag. We hold it, and then you imagine you have a region around your pencil, and then you try, imagine niyo na i-rotate mo siya around that axis. Kunwari, meron kang yung laruan dati natin na parang yung mga laruan natin. Kumbaga ba kayo ng laruan? So if you try to have that, sige, wait lang. So I will just show you a video instead. Para at least meron kayong idea on what we can we will do. Okay, I have a video here we can use. Mga video sa YouTube yung ganda. Can easily consider. Ito na lang. Dito naman sa presentation ko. Okay. Imagine you have a disk. Kunwari, I have this region. Okay, guys. Can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir.
Opo. Yes po.
Okay, ito na nga lang. Hindi ako makakita ng matino-tinong sa web. Okay. Imagine you have this and then you try to consider this region, itong shaded region na to. Okay, this bounded region here. And then we will rotate it around the y-axis, for example, this axis here. Okay. So I will consider an element of area pa rin. Kunwari, I consider a horizontal element of area I have here. Okay. And then I will rotate it around the y-axis, this one. Okay. If I try to rotate it in this manner, so yung rectangle ko, it will actually form a disk. Did you see that?
Opo.
Yes po.
Okay, so imagine that same thing as what we did last time. Pupunuin natin ito ng rectangles. Siyempre, mag-iiba-iba ulit yung width niyan. Okay? And then we will rotate it around this axis. Diba? So, ang mapuproduce natin dyan ay parang mga pinagpatong-patong ng mga disks. Right? So, meron siyang thickness at meron siyang length. In other words, we have the area of the region and then we have the thickness. Okay? Tama? So the volume of this solid is actually the volume of the disk. Okay? And then what we will be doing here is to get the volume of the disk, we will just be considering this volume of the disk will be the area, okay, of this, di ba parang area nung ating call that area nitong ating disk. Okay. And the volume, the thickness. Okay. So what will now be the area of this, ang tawag nito, nitong ating disk? So the area of the disk will just be the area of the circle, so that will just be considered as this is the length, which is the radius rather. Okay. And then the thickness. Nakuha ba yun, guys? Hello? So if you try to find the air and the volume of this, you just have to consider this. Okay? Saan nakuha itong x right minus x left squared na to times pi? So parang imagine you have a pi r squared h. Okay po ba? Kasi ang volume ng parang you can consider this disk as a very thin cylinder. Diba? So ang volume ng cylinder ay the radius or pi times the square of the radius times the height. In this case, yung height natin dito ay yung thickness ng ating element of area. Is that clear, guys?
Yes po.
Yes po,
Okay.
sir.
So, halos pares lang ang gagawin natin doon sa previous lesson natin kasi we still have to identify this length which will serve as the radius of this circle. Okay? Parang area of the radius of the cylinder. And then yung ating dy or dx will be based on the thickness. Kung element of area natin ay horizontal, dy pa rin ito. Can you follow? And then this x right minus x left is the length of this element of area. Notice, this one is applicable if we will be creating a disk. In other words, yung ating axis is also a boundary to your bounded region. Okay, mapapansin nyo si y-axis ay boundary ng ating bounded region. On the other hand, paano kapag hindi siya boundary? Kunwari, I have this one. Okay, and then I have to rotate it around, say for example, this axis. Mapapansin nyo, itong axis natin na to ay hindi siya boundary nitong ating region. So if we try to rotate it, and then we use this element of area and then rotate it, notice what we will be producing is what we call a washer. Alam niyo yung washer? Parang CD. Yung may butas na disk. So, instead, in this case, halos similar pa rin ang gagawin natin. But notice, itong ating length ng element of area will not be anymore the length or rather the radius of the circle, di ba? But notice, this one will serve as the difference of the radii. Okay? Sinabi nating difference, yung pagkakaiba nitong radius ng small disk na nasa loob, yung hole, o yung butas, and the length, the length of the hole or the radius of the hole and the radius of the bigger circle, yung outer natin. So notice, if you consider getting the volume of this washer, you'll just have to get the volume of the hole, yung buo. Okay, babawasin lang natin yung volume ng nasa loob. Kaya meron tayong ganito. Can you follow?
Yes po.
Okay. Now, if you consider getting this radius, the radius of this inner circle will be the distance from your, what you call this, your axis to this, okay? And ito naman, the length of this or the distance from the outer circle to the radius will be the what you call that, the radius of the bigger circle. Okay? So, in this case, ang mangyayari dito, ang length na natin, or rather the radius that we will be using, or to find the volume, kailangan natin kunin muna yung volume ng maliit. Okay? Or basically, yung malaki muna, subtract natin yung volume ng maliit. And if you do that, we will be using this. Ito naman ang magiging itsura niyan. Saan galing kanina? If you would notice, the square of x right minus x left. Ito naman magiging x right squared minus x left squared ang kakalabasan. Bakit? Kasi ito, isusubtract muna natin yung parang ito na yung radius niyan, di ba? Okay? And then yung radius naman ng buo, take note guys, what we are doing here is we are getting this radius. Okay? Pasensya na ito, medyo hindi lang isinama dito yung kung ano yung ating assuming nito ay yung ating y-axis pa rin yung ating axis. Okay? So the x right minus x left, parang dalawang x right minus x left ang gagawin natin dito. Okay? So we will show it to you later. Okay nga. Let me have an example. Okay. So instead, ito yung gagamitin nating elements of volume. But before that, meron pa lang isa. Yung tinatawag naman nating cylindrical shell. So mapapansin nyo, yung una, ito, yung ating axis ay boundary ng ating element ay ng ating bounded region. At the same time, si element of area ay perpendicular. Okay? Ibig sabihin, horizontal si element of area, vertical si axis or vice versa. Vertical si element of area, horizontal si axis. So pag pag inikot natin yung rectangle, you will form a disk. Similarly, ganun din dito. Perpendicular pa rin si axis at saka si element of area. Yun nga lang ito, hindi na boundary si ating axis. Okay? Ito namang pangatlo, yung cylindrical shell na tinatawag, ito naman kapag parallel naman yung ating axis at saka yung ating element of area. So, the same thing. Let's say consider I have here a vertical element of area and my axis is still vertical. Notice if I try to rotate that, ang mapuproduce ko dito is parang a cylindrical shell. Okay? And how am I going to get the volume of this cylindrical shell? So we will be using this area, or rather this radius here. Okay, so let's call it small r. And the volume of this, parang imagine natin dito, the volume of this will be given by the volume of the cylinder. Okay? So 2 pi r ht ang magiging pa natin dito. Bakit 2 pi r ht? Ang volume ng cylinder ay cylindrical shell rather tayo, hindi cylinder . So imagine niyo if you have parang I have here a cylinder. Can you imagine how a cylinder look like or a cylindrical shell? Kapag imagine niyo merong pang sheet of material, can you see me guys? Nakita niyo ba ako?
Yes,
If you have
po.
a cylindrical shell, parang imagine you have a thin sheet of material. To find the volume of this, it's just the same as getting the volume of a flattened sheet. Can you imagine that? Can you see me?
Yes, po.
Okay, so basically what we are getting is the volume of the sheet. So the volume of that will just be the parang the length times the width times the thickness. Okay? Yung 2 pi r na yan, 2 pi r is actually the length of the sheet. Okay? Which will serve as, notice since it's a cylindrical shell, parang pabilog yan, di ba? Tama? So basically, itong nasa ibabaw, itong bilog natin is just the circumference. So the circumference will just be based or will be just be equal to 2 pi r. And the height is this, okay? And the thickness is the thickness of the sheet. Okay. Bakit ginagamit ko ang papel? Kasi same thing with what we did in the area of a bounded region. We will make the thickness as small as we please. Okay? So, ang kailangan nating ma-identify dito is kung ano yung R. In this case, the distance from the axis to the element of area, kailangan nating ma-identify yan. Yung H is the usual Y. In this case, this is vertical Y up minus Y down lang siya. And the thickness will be based on kung ano yung ating element of area ulit. Dahil vertical ito, notice, ang gagamitin nating thickness is your dx. Okay? And yung ating x na to, galing ito sa distance nitong dalawa. Okay? Yung r na yan. Ito again, ina-assume na naman dito na yung ating radius yung ating axis ay nasa y-axis. Okay? So, in essence or in summary, we can summarize these results in this manner. Okay? So, if you have a disk, yung ating element of volume ay disk, the dV or the integrand that we will be using is pi r squared t, where r is the radius, in this case, the length of the element of area. Okay, yung r natin. And t will be based kung ating element of area ay pahiga, so we use dy. If it's vertical or patayo, we have dx. Sa washer naman, we will be basing it in this formula. So yung ating integrand will be r squared, which is the radius of the outer circle minus the radius of the smaller circle. Okay, and then t again will be based kung your dx kapag patayo and then dy kapag pahiga yung ating element of area. And for cylindrical shell, we can actually use 2 pi r ht. Again, yung h will be the length of the element of area, which is the length of the rectangle, and then r is the distance of the element of area, which is the rectangle, to the axis, and then t will again be based on the dx and dy kapag vertical or horizontal yung ating element of area. Okay, is that understood, guys?
Yes po.
Okay, so I really hope na naintindihan talaga. Now, let me try to show you the steps of finding the volume. So first is we draw the graph, okay, and then we label so that we can identify the correct element of volume. Okay, element of volume agad ha guys, kasi we are sure na alam na natin paano kunin yung element of area of a bounded region. Okay, so ganun pa rin. We start with finding the correct or the safer way element of volume or safer element of area rather, yung rectangle, so that we can identify the element of volume based sa ating na-identify na element of area, which is the rectangle and the axis. Okay? And then we identify dV so that we can set up the integral. In other words, we still have to, if you would notice na sa ating mga integral kanina, may A and B yan. Okay, so I have to identify the lower and upper limits, which is similar to what we did in the element of area or in finding for the area. And then finally, we solve the integral so that we can identify the area. Okay po ba? Let's have an example. Okay, so let's have this first example. Okay, simple muna tayo. We find the volume of solid revolution bounded by y equals x x minus 3, x equals -1, and x equals 2, and then we rotate it around or about x equals 2. Okay, so let me try to Hindi lang. Nangyari sa aking percentage. Okay, let's have this instead. Okay, so ready na po ba, guys? Hello po. Okay, so let's try to graph this. So let me insert a graph. Okay, what can you see, guys? Can you see the graph? Wala pa?
Wala pa po.
Okay.
Hindi po.
Okay, so let me graph first the line y equals x. Ayan. Ilabas na. Ayan. Okay, and then let me graph the line y equals x minus 3. Okay, yan siya. Nakikita niya ba, guys? Okay, and the other one, which is x equals 1. X equals negative 1. Okay, and then nababaan natin. Okay, and then the other one, we have your line, Nisha, x equals 2. Okay. Kita po ba? Okay, clear natin itong iba. Okay. Okay, so this is now the region, guys. Nakikita po ba yung region natin?
Opo.
Yan. Okay. And the axis is x equals 2. So ito. So let me have there. Okay, magiging axis natin. Palitan natin ng kulay. Gagawin natin blue. Okay. So yun yung axis natin. Di ba? Tama ba, guys? So we rotate it around that axis. So mapapansin nyo, si axis ay unang-una is what? Is a boundary. But notice, if we try to create a horizontal rectangle here, okay, imagine I'll make a horizontal rectangle here. Pag gumawa ako ng horizontal rectangle, ang mangyayari, hindi consistent, yun na rin, magawa ko dito ng horizontal rectangle, di ba? Okay. Hindi magiging consistent yung aking nasa kaliwa, okay, kapag dito na ako gumawa, di ba? Diba? Andito yung kanan niya, dito yung kaliwa niya, dito nag-iba na yung kanan niya, ay yung kaliwa niya, at saka nag-iba na rin yung kaliwa niya dito, di ba? Napag-usapan natin last time na kapag gumagamit tayo ng element of area, dapat as much as possible, consistent yung ends ng ating rectangle. Tama ba yun? Naalala yun? Hello? Hindi pa ba kayo? So instead, ang gagawin natin dito, kapag gumamit tayo ng vertical rectangle, mapapansin natin na yung ating ating upper part ng rectangle, kahit saan tayo gumawa ng rectangle natin dito, di ba? It will always be consistent. Okay. Can you follow, guys? Drawing nga tayo ng, insert nga tayo ng rectangle na matino. Okay. Insert a rectangle. So if I try to create a rectangle here, okay, kahit saan ako gumawa ng rectangle, laging consistent yung aking upper part and then yung lower part. Tama? Tama ba, guys?
Yes po.
Saan tumatama yung upper part ng rectangle natin? Laging dito sa ating y equals x, di ba? Lagyan natin ng label to. Y equals x. Okay. Ito yung y equals x. Ito, di ba? Tama ba? And then ito namang isa is yung ating y equals x minus 3. Yung ating y down. Right? Ito naman siya. Ito ko sa ilagay sa baba. Okay? So, mangyayari, dahil ang ating axis ay patayo at ang ating element of area ay patayo din, so ano yung element of volume na mapoproduce natin, guys? Ano yung element of area? So if I try to rotate yung aking rectangle, what happens? Kapag nirotate ko tong rectangle around the axis, ano yung mapoproduce ko? You will produce a what? Makakaproduce tayo ng cylinder ba? Or specifically, makakaproduce tayo dito ng cylindrical shell, right? Okay. Ano nangyayari dito? Shape, fill, no fill. Okay, so parang sorry. Ito yung mapuproduce natin, di ba? Parang meron tayong cylindrical shell. Right? Okay? So parang ito, if I try to make this another, parang ganyan yung mapuproduce natin, di ba? Okay. So, ang na-produce natin dito is a cylindrical shell, right? Can you follow, guys?
Yes po.
Okay, so dahil cylindrical shell ang nagawa natin, if you go back to the steps, we have to identify now yung ating 2 pi RHT, right? So isa-isahin natin. So syempre 2 pi is constant. So identify na lang natin si R, H, and then T. So let me go back there. So ang kailangan muna nating i-identify is yung T. Para madali. What will be T? Okay. Dahil ang ating element of area ay patayo or vertical. Ano yung T natin? Tingnan nga.
dx po.
Yun, very good. Dx. Okay. So T, meron tayong T. And then next is kailangan natin identify si H. Si H ay yung height, di ba? So we will identify the y up minus y down. Right? So y up minus y down. So paano natin makukuha si H? So what is the y value dito sa taas ng rectangle? Y there is equal to ano? O, bago makuha natin si H, kunin muna natin si y up. Okay, so what will be y up? Y up
X
is?
po.
Okay, very good.
X.
Okay, ano naman si y down?
X
X
minus
minus
Okay, very good. This is x minus. Good. Okay. So, makukuha na natin si x, di ba? Ay si h. So, ano yung h natin? H is y up minus y down. Parang ito, kunin natin to, y up minus y down. Okay? So, pag kinuha natin yan, ang h natin dito will be, ang y up natin ay x, ang y down natin ay x minus 3. Hello? So, ang magiging h natin dito will be what? Ay. Okay. Ibang mga Pandora mag-cash. Okay, what will be h? So, if we subtract this, if we simplify, your h will be equal to ano? 3, right? X minus 3, so this will just be equal to 3, right?
Yes po.
Okay. Next, so paano naman natin kunin si R? Paano natin kunin si R? Si R, ganun ulit. Since we are considering here the distance, radius yan, di ba? So we will be identifying yung distance from this to this. So, parang kung ang vertical, y up minus y down, x right minus x left naman tayo dito. Okay? So, ang x right natin ay, ano to? This one is your x equals 2, right? X equals 2. X equals 2. Itong ating axis, di ba? And then, pag kinuha natin yung radius, okay, ito siya, from here to here. Okay, this is straight. Yan, kinapalan na natin para kita. Nipis ulit. Okay? So, how do you get this radius here? So, x right natin dito ay 2. Di ba? And the x left is x. So, ang r natin will just be 2 minus x. Can you follow? Linaw po ba? Hello po. Hello? Nakuha
Sir,
ba si
paano
R? Sige.
pong x yung x po, sir?
Kasi unlike dun sa ating kanina, 'di ba, sa y, medyo makonfon si y kasi makukuha mo y equals x. Eh kaso ang kinukuha natin dito ay x lang. So x ay equal sa x. So if you try to get the x value on this part will just be x. Kaya x lang ito. Can you follow? And then x here is equal to 2. Kaya yung x natin dito ay consistent na 2. Kaya 2 yun. Malinaw po ba?
Opo, sir. Thank you po.
Okay. So, mangyayari now, we can now set up yung ating DV. Diba? Okay. Wait lang ako. Copyin ko itong mga to sa kabilang slide para mispace tayo. Okay. Okay. R na 3 at saka si H. Okay. Let me copy all this on the other slide. Okay. At saka si T. Okay. And let's go to the next slide. Okay. So guys kinopya ko na si importanteng gagamitin natin. So ang sunod natin gagawin is we now set up yung ating DV. Okay? So let me copy this and then I need to identify my DV now. Okay? But if you would remember, si DV ay 2 pi RHT, right? So, papalitan na lang natin itong RHT na to. Si R ay ito, 2 minus X. So, I'll get that. Okay, and then I'll place it there. Okay, and then my H is 3. So, papalitan ko lang ito ng 3. And then si T, papalitan ko rin ng dx. Can you follow? Hello po.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, simplify na natin to para mamaya. So, 2 times 3, so magiging 6 na lang ito. Tanggalin na natin si 3. Okay? And then we are now to set up the integral. Okay? So if I try to set up my integral, okay? Let me set up my integral. Kailangan ko ng ito. So yung dv, ito, kukopyahin ko lang ito. Nalagay ko lang siya dito as my integral. Ganun. Okay? Ang kailangan ko na lang kunin ay kung ano yung aking lower and upper limit. Itong nasa lower and then upper limit na to. If I go back to this, ano yung element of area natin is rectangle. So what will now be the lowest and the highest value of x? Okay? So the lowest value of x in the region will be here. Okay? Sorry, hindi pala ako naka-present this one. So if you're gonna consider this region, ito yung bounded region natin, di ba? The lowest value of x in this region will be in this line, di ba? Which is, ano yung x natin dito?
-1 po.
Okay, and then the highest value of x in this region will be at this line, which is at x equals
2.
Okay, so ang mangyayari dyan, ang magiging lowest value natin ay -1. So yun yung lower limit and then the upper limit will be 2. Okay, so going back here, ang magiging lower limit ng aking integral will be -1. Higher limit ko ay ayun. So meron na tayong integral. Malinaw po?
Yes po.
Okay, so we just integrate this and then we can now find the integral. Okay, let me copy this in the next slide. Try natin, guys. Are you ready? So we just first put out the constant, itong 6pi para madali natin ma-integrate. Okay. And then we can now integrate this. So anong integral ng 2? So that will be 2x, right? So this will just be, okay, so we can have this bracket here. Ito na yung ating, muna pala, can have here. So we have a bracket. Ito na yung single square bracket natin dito. Ayun eh. There. And then we place a parenthesis for them. Okay, so this will be the integral of 2 minus x will be 2x, right? Minus, that will be x squared over 2. This will be x squared over 2. And then we now evaluate it from the lower limit, which is -1, up to the higher limit, which is negative 5. Okay, can you follow, guys? Question po, malinaw po ba, guys?
Opo, sir.
Yes po.
Okay, so we now proceed with getting the integral. Okay, so integrate na lang natin to. So let me copy this. Okay. And then go to the next slide. Okay, this one. And then integrate natin. So, paano natin mag-integrate? Substitute lang natin, di ba? Okay. Hello? Andiyan pa ba kayo?
Yes po.
Sorry, namatay yung kwan ko. Let's continue. We present again. This one. Okay. Yan guys, Oh, parang Yeah. Okay, so Guys, Hindi naman yung teacher niya mag-type eh. Minus. Ganun na. So, palitan natin muna when x is 2. So, this will be 2. Okay. Ito palagyan na rin natin ito ng 2. Ito na palitan natin ito ng negative 1. Hindi, ito naman. Ito ng negative 1. Okay. Okay. Smaller. Okay. And simplifying this. Okay. Let me share ito guys. Pwede nyo itong wala kayong calculator, pwede nyo itong i-download. So, let me share you my calculator. Nakikita nyo si calculator ko?
Yes po.
Guys, itong calculator na to, meron siyang integral function notation. You can use this para pang check. Okay? At saka kung multiple choice lang naman yung sagot, edi input nyo na lang yung dito. Kunwari, yung kanina, mamaya na lang natin gagawin para surprise. Kunin muna natin yung integral kanina, which is, ang kailangan natin makuha is ito. Yung parentheses. So, 2 times 2 minus 2 squared. Okay, so 2 squared. Squared over 2. Diba? So, baba. 2. Okay. And then we place in parentheses again, minus, parentheses ulit, of 2 times negative 1. Bigyan natin ng parentheses para maganda. Okay. And then minus, ulit, tapos we place in parentheses, negative 1 squared. Okay. Over 2. And then we place a close parenthesis. And then the sagot is 9 over 2. Okay. Tandaan natin yan, 9 over 2. Eh, may 6 pi pa tayo. So, times 6. Okay. Ang sagot dapat ay 21 over 2 pi. Right? Tama ba? Tandaan yan guys ha. Nandiyan po ba kayo? Hello?
Plus po ba yun, sir?
Ha?
Plus po.
Opo. Ay,
Okay.
oo nga, no, dapat pala
Kala ko po
times.
times.
Tama naman. Tama ka dyan. Dapat times. Kasi plus. 9 over 2 times 6 pala, sorry. So, dapat 27. Okay? Check natin. Gamitin natin 6 pi, or 6 na lang, times 2 minus x yan, di ba? Saan yung x natin dito? Ang x dito ay ito. So, place alpha and then close. Okay? And then this will be from negative 1 to 2. Okay, and then we press equal sign. Now notice we have the same answer. Got it?
Sir, hindi na po kailangan yung sa pi, sir.
Pwede mo naman lagay ng pi yan. Di ba nilagay mo ng pi, 27 pi. Para hindi mo na kailangan i-type dito yung pi.
Hindi na
Okay.
po ita-type yung value po ng pi, sir.
Leave it as is kasi si pi kapag inilagay mo, mag-irrational number pa siya. Okay?
Sige po,
So,
thank you po.
balikan natin yung ating presentation kanina. Where is that? This one. Okay. And then, okay, so this one, taas natin ang konti para magkasya pa yung ating 27.5. Okay. So this one will just be 27, right? Okay. Saan po? Saan mo kayo? Question?
Wala po.
So usually, since we're considering volume pala, you can just place here cubic units para identify natin na volume ang kinukuha natin. So mag-aalas 11 na guys. So we'll continue with this next meeting. Ganun ulit. Siguro next meeting na tayo. Actually, last topic na natin to guys. Finals na nito next week. So tatapusin na lang natin ito and then we'll proceed with a quiz maybe next meeting also, and then next week you'll have your final exam. Okay? So, end ko na yung recording.